Of all the wars waged on the bold and the beautiful, few battles have been as endlessly consuming, as fiercely fought, and as stubbornly relentless as the one between Brooke Logan and Taylor Hayes over Ridge Forrester. Decades of heartache, betrayal, reconciliations, and bitter rivalries have fueled their saga, and even now it shows no signs of extinguishing itself quietly. Instead, it seems to be spiraling toward an even more devastating explosion, one that will change their lives forever. The latest turn of events unfolded with a ferocity that few had anticipated, even among the most loyal followers of this timeless triangle. Brooke, steadfast and undeterred, remains fiercely determined to reclaim Ridge's heart, regardless of the growing chorus of warnings from Taylor. For Taylor, the resurgence of Brooke's manipulation and insistence stirred up old wounds, resentment boiling just beneath the surface until it erupted in a moment of raw violence. Taylor slapped Brooke, her open palm cracking across Brooke's cheek with a force fueled by years of frustration and emotional exhaustion. Why, after so many years, do these two women still orbit around Ridge Forrester like moths to an unforgiving flame? The audience themselves have begun to question it. Online forums and social media are ablaze with critiques, fans lamenting the repetitive nature of the love triangle that has spanned generations. Many have cried out for fresh blood, a new direction, something beyond the constant push and pull over a man who has, time and again, wavered between them. In response to these mounting frustrations, the writers of the bold and the beautiful have taken a daring leap into uncharted, tragic territory, a shocking and emotional storyline that could forever alter the dynamic not just between Brooke and Taylor, but the entire Forrester-Logan nexus. It began subtly, almost imperceptibly. Brooke's behavior started changing in small, barely noticeable ways. She would forget little things, a lunch date here, a conversation there, moments so fleeting they could be chalked up to stress or mere distraction. But for Hope, Brooke's daughter and fiercest protector, the signs were becoming impossible to ignore. Hope, always watchful, always sensitive to her mother's moods and behaviors, noticed the slight confusion in Brooke's eyes when recalling simple events, the hesitation when speaking, the occasional misplaced anger or bewilderment that had never before characterized Brooke's steely persona. Hope's growing concern turned into alarm one evening when a domestic accident laid bare the gravity of Brooke's condition. While preparing dinner, Brooke, lost in a fog of her thoughts, accidentally sliced her hand with a kitchen knife. Blood dripped onto the floor as Brooke stared at her wound, seemingly detached from the pain, her mind adrift somewhere unreachable. It was Hope's scream that finally jolted Brooke back to reality, the young woman rushing to her mother's side, bandaging the wound with shaking hands as terror gripped her heart. Refusing to let this incident pass as a mere accident, Hope insisted that Brooke visit the hospital for a thorough evaluation. Brooke, though resistant and embarrassed, acquiesced under Hope's desperate pleading. The tests came swiftly, the consultations were thorough, and when the final diagnosis came down, it shattered Hope's world into 1,000 irreparable fragments: early-onset Alzheimer's disease. The diagnosis was a blow that neither Brooke nor Hope could easily comprehend. For Brooke, who had built her life on her beauty, her sharp wit, her sensuality, the prospect of slowly losing herself piece by piece was almost too cruel to fathom. For Hope, who had always seen her mother as a resilient force of nature, it was an unbearable descent into helplessness. The doctors explained that the disease was still in its early stages, but cautioned that emotional turmoil and psychological stress could hasten its progression. The implications were devastating, especially given the war Brooke had reignited with Taylor over Ridge. Sitting alone in the sterile hospital room as Brooke slept fitfully beside her, Hope realized that every ounce of anger, every confrontation, every heartbreak that Brooke had endured recently could be accelerating her decline. Ridge, the man Brooke had fought so tirelessly for, was ironically one of the greatest threats to her mental stability. Hope's heart twisted with the cruel irony of it all. Ridge, the very symbol of Brooke's passion and perseverance, could now be her undoing. Torn between anger and desperation, Hope wrestled with her next move. Should she confront Ridge? Should she beg him to return to Brooke, not out of love but out of duty, out of compassion, out of sheer necessity? Could Ridge even be capable of providing the kind of steady, unwavering support Brooke would now require? And would such an arrangement even be fair to Ridge, to Brooke, to Taylor, or to herself? Hope's mind was a battlefield, riddled with uncertainty and fear. But one thing was clear: she could not stand by and watch her mother crumble without a fight. If there was even a sliver of a chance that Ridge's presence could soothe Brooke's restless mind, provide her some semblance of peace amidst the growing chaos, then Hope would seize it. Thus, Hope found herself standing outside Ridge's office at Forrester Creations, her hand trembling as it hovered over the door. Inside, she could hear Ridge and Steffi talking, their voices low but tense. Steffi, ever her father's fiercest defender, would not take kindly to any attempt by Hope to drag Ridge back into Brooke's orbit. Yet Hope's resolve hardened. This wasn't about romantic games anymore. This was about life and death, about preserving the woman who had given her everything. Pushing the door open, Hope stepped inside, her eyes locking onto Ridge's with an intensity he had rarely seen from her. Steffi's expression darkened instantly, suspicion flaring in her eyes, but Hope ignored her. Her focus was entirely on Ridge. "I need to talk to you," Hope said, her voice steady despite the storm raging inside her. Ridge looked at her with concern, sensing the gravity in her tone. "Of course, Hope. What's going on?" Hope hesitated, the weight of the confession pressing down on her. Finally, she spoke, her words raw and anguished. "It's my mom, Brooke. She's sick, Ridge. She has Alzheimer's. And I'm scared we're going to lose her faster than we should." The room fell into stunned silence. Ridge's face blanched, Steffi's mouth parted in shock. Hope pressed on, her voice breaking with emotion. "The doctors said stress makes it worse. Her obsession with you, this fight with Taylor, it's eating her alive. If she keeps feeling like she's losing you, it'll destroy her. Please, Ridge. I'm begging you. Don't let her slip away." Steffi immediately bristled, stepping forward. "Hope, you can't ask him to do this. You can't guilt him into." Hope turned on her with a ferocity born of sheer desperation. "I'm not asking him to pretend to love her. I'm asking him to be there for her, to help her find some peace. You think this is about a love triangle? It's not. This is about a daughter trying to save her mother's life." The room crackled with tension, Ridge caught between two worlds, two families, two impossible choices. Taylor's warnings echoed in his mind. Steffi's protective instincts burned brightly, but nothing could drown out the image of Brooke, proud, beautiful, invincible Brooke, slipping into the abyss of forgetfulness. A fate more tragic than any betrayal or broken promise. Ridge's jaw tightened, emotion clouding his normally stoic gaze. He realized, perhaps for the first time, the enormity of what was at stake. Brooke needed him, not as a lover, not as a trophy in an endless rivalry, but as a lifeline. The woman he had loved, in so many ways and for so many years, was facing the fight of her life, and she needed every ally she could get. Hope's plea had planted a seed in Ridge's heart, one that could not easily be uprooted. What he would do next remained uncertain, but one thing was clear: the battle lines had shifted. The war between Brooke and Taylor was no longer just about romance, it was about survival. And in this new, brutal war, love would be redefined, loyalties tested, and hearts irrevocably broken. For the bold and the beautiful, the story was no longer merely about who Ridge would choose, but whether love itself could withstand the merciless tide of time and memory. Would Ridge step up and become the anchor Brooke so desperately needed? Would Taylor find the compassion to step aside, recognizing the deeper stakes at play? Would Hope's desperate gambit be enough to save her mother from slipping into the darkness? The answers lay just beyond the horizon, but one thing was certain: nothing in Los Angeles would ever be the same again.
Oh.